Hello and welcome to my screencast for business-related tax documents and instruction booklets. My name is Joy Poe and this is ENT 630 Entrepreneurial Growth. You can begin your tax journey at www.irs.gov. For forms and instruction booklets, you can go to File, Business and Self-Employed, and then Small Business and Self-Employed Tax Center. Here you'll find a variety of useful information for your small business, such as publications and forms, filing and paying your business taxes, employee EIN numbers, stages of owning a business, online learning workshops, and webinars for small business, and quite a few things more. It was a great website to stumble upon, the Small Business and Self-Employed Tax Center involved with the IRS. We're going to talk about U.S. corporate income tax returns and U.S. partnership tax returns. In the United States, the corporations file tax return form 1120. There are 4 types of this form. The first is the plain old 1120 for C corporations. The second is 1120S for S corporations. 1120-C is for cooperatives, and 1120-H is for condominium and housing associations. And then we'll also cover Form 1065, which is the U.S. return of partnerships. Completing Form 1120 is considered a difficult feat. Most people will need to hire a tax professional to ensure accurate filing of their corporate taxes. It is wise to gather pertinent materials prior to meeting with your tax professional. Your professional will need basic information about your corporation, including the name, address, EIN number, date of incorporation, and total assets. They will need your income information, including gross receipts, cost of goods sold, dividends, interest, rents, royalties, and capital gains. They will need your tax-deductible expenses. Although documentation is not required to claim the deduction, you must have complete documentation on expenditures in the case of an audit. They will also need your taxes paid, refundable credits, and payments made, which includes the corporation's taxable income and schedules. These schedules will vary depending on your business, and documentation will be needed in the event of an audit. Corporate taxes are due to be filed the 15th day of the 3rd month following the date its tax year ended. You can find IRS tax dates for businesses and self-employed at irs.gov. If you are filing as a limited liability corporation, things are a little bit different for you. The U.S. Small Business Administration can be very helpful regarding the intricacies of small business, including the LLC. They have a blog, and on that blog there's an article called 6 Things You Need to Know About Your Tax Responsibilities as an LLC. It's a great starting point. It has several useful resources as well. So as an LLC, the business will not necessarily file Form 1120 that we just spoke about. LLCs have a few options for filing, which brings to light the importance of choosing the correct business structure for your company. An LLC with multiple members may decide if they want to be treated as a corporation, partnership, or as part of the owner's tax return by filling out Form 8832. Form 8832 allows the LLC to elect their business classifications for tax purposes. If a single-member LLC chooses to file their business taxes on their own return, this is called a disregarded entity. The IRS will consider a single-owner LLC as a disregarded entity unless the owner fills out Form 8832 and chooses to be taxed as a corporation. If an LLC has at least 2 members, the IRS will classify the business as a partnership unless the owner fills out Form 8832 and chooses to be taxed differently, such as a corporation or disregarded entity. For further information on the intricacies of LLC and taxes, refer to IRS publication 3402. Moving on to partnerships, they file Form 1065, the U.S. return of partnership income. Form 1065 is an information return. It's used to report the income, gains, losses, deductions, credits, and other information from the operation of a partnership. A Partnership doesn't pay taxes on its income, but passes through any profits or losses to its partners. Partners must include partnership items on their tax or information returns. An unincorporated organization with 2 or more members is generally classified as a partnership for federal tax purposes if its members carry on a trade, business, financial operation, or venture and divide its profits. However, a joint undertaking merely to share expenses is not a partnership. For example, co-ownership of property maintained and rented or leased is not a partnership unless the co-owners provide services to the tenants. Generally, if you and your spouse jointly own and operate an unincorporated business and share in the profits and losses, you are partners in a partnership and you must file Form 1065. Form 1065 is due to be filed by the 15th day of the 3rd month following the date the tax year ended. Form 1065 is complicated and may require the help of a tax professional. Be sure to gather the required materials and information before your meeting. These items will be the same as were cited in the previous slide for Form 1120. Now we're going to talk about North Carolina. They have a sales and use tax and a state income tax return. Begin your North Carolina tax journey at www.ncdor.gov. That is the North Carolina Department of Revenue. You would click on Businesses to access the valuable information for businesses in North Carolina, such as general tax information, the North Carolina tax calendar, small business seminars, tax forms, and instructions. Again, North Carolina has a sales and use tax. Access to information about this tax is under General Tax Information. The sales and use tax covers personal property that may be seen, weighed, measured, felt, or touched, or is in any manner perceptible to the senses and sold at retail. Furthermore, in those instances where the appropriate sales tax has not been paid on taxable tangible personal property, a use tax applies to the tangible personal property purchased or received from within or without the state for storage, use, or consumption in the state. If the taxpayer's monthly tax liability is $100 or less, the taxpayer is required to file sales and use tax quarterly. The returns with remittance of tax are due on or before the last day of January, April, July, and October for the preceding 3-month period. If the taxpayer's monthly tax liability is consistently less than $20,000 per month and at least $100 per month, the taxpayer must file monthly on or before the 20th day of each month for all taxes due for the preceding calendar month. The taxes due must be remitted with the monthly return. A taxpayer who is consistently liable for at least $20,000 a month in state and local taxes, sales and use, must make a monthly prepayment of the next month's liability when filing the monthly return due on or before the 20th day of each month. You must also register for a sales and use tax account through the North Carolina Department of Revenue by completing Form NCBR or visiting the online business registration portal on the ncdor.gov website. The sales and use tax form to file is Form E500. It can be filed online, by mail, or over the phone. And then you may refer to the sales and use tax rates and other information webpage on NCDOR for information about sales and use tax rates. All domestic and foreign corporations which are doing business in North Carolina and every inactive corporation chartered or domesticated here must file an annual franchise and income tax return. North Carolina Partnership Return, Form D403, must be filed by every partnership doing business in North Carolina if a federal partnership return was required to be filed. A limited liability company classified as a partnership for federal income tax purposes is also classified as a partnership for state income tax purposes. It's required to file a partnership income tax return if a federal partnership return is required to be filed. If you are a sole proprietor, you will file an individual state income tax return appropriate to your situation. And if you have already hired a tax professional to do your federal taxes, it's wise to have your tax professional help you with North Carolina income tax as well. And here we have the golden rule of taxes. Make sure you pay your taxes. Otherwise, you can get in a lot of trouble, as quoted by Richard Nixon. Here I have a few resources for you. First is the IRS Small Business and Self-Employed Tax Center. I really liked this website, this aspect of the IRS website. It had a lot of tutorials and other ways of kind of moving around small business and what is required in the federal level. Then thebalance.com has an article that will offer an overview of corporate taxes and has some valuable links to help answer some questions. I provided links to IRS Publication 521 for corporations, IRS Publication 3402 for taxation of LLCs, IRS Publication 541 for partnerships, and then we also have the link to the U.S. Small Business Association. They have a learning center and a wide variety of information and help available to small business owners. And finally, we have our reference page. Most of my references coming from the North Carolina Department of Revenue and IRS.gov. And I just want to say thanks for your attention. I hope you've learned something valuable about these forms for tax purposes. Thank you.